Hello friends, myself is Uttam Kumar. I am a stock market learner and a trader as well. Today I want to share my views, study on pivot points for selection of shares for swing trading purpose. How pivot point helps us in selecting stocks if you want to keep it for a long term period. So for this we need to add pivot points in our chart on multiple time frame. So to add the pivot point, as we know, we can get it from the indicators list, and the number of pivot points which we need to select here is 3. That's mean on multiple chart, on multiple time frame, we are going to see the impact of pivot points on selection of stocks. So we will take 3 pivot points here, 1, 2 and 3, and we will do some settings in these pivot points according to the time frame. In order to remove the complexity on the chart, we will do some settings. First we will select, as you can see here, we have different types of pivots: traditional, Fibonacci, OD, classic, DMARC and Camarilla. The popular one is Fibonacci. So we will select Fibonacci. Then here by default time frame is auto. So we will take it daily in one pivot, and we will do some setting in color selection also. So what we do here, we will remove this support and resistance indicators in this pivot, and let us change its color from brown to black. You can select according to your choice, and in the second pivot which we have selected, again we will remove this support and resistance indicators, and for this I want to select light blue, and in the settings we will again change it traditional to Fibonacci, auto to weekly. In earlier one we have selected daily, and in this pivot we will select it weekly. Okay, and now the in third one again we will do some settings, the same settings change, and let us make its color deep brown, and this type of Fibonacci is type of pivot is Fibonacci, and time frame we will select here monthly. Now you can see we have different types of pivots on the basis of different time frame. Now see the impact of this. This is a chart of Titan. As we see here, what we suggest, we should select only those stocks for long term holdings which are above all these 3 pivot points: daily, weekly and monthly. This gives a good result in the long term period. And now let us take some example of, here we have chart of Titan. Recently, yesterday, Titan has given a good move of 6.72% yesterday. So shall we keep it for a long term basis? How we select it? How we can find it comfortable to have in our portfolio? So see, we are here The Titan is not above, it has just crossed the monthly pivot as well as from weekly and daily pivot. So we can keep a watch here, but the gap between the daily, weekly and monthly and weekly also matters, because gap up opening and gap down opening and the distance between the pivot points also gives a range of a price. If range varies too much and gap is too much, then it takes time to cover that distance, and it may be it will make some correction in future and then it will go. So accordingly we can take decisions. For recently best example is ITC. According to me, recent best example is ITC. See, in ITC we can find it here that just ITC was around all these three pivot points in recent period from 2nd January to 23rd January. When it crossed all these three pivots, we can see there was a good rise in the price, and it gave almost 50%, 15%. You can see here 14.82, almost a 15% move, upward move when it crossed from monthly pivot. In the same way, we can take TCS. See, here when TCS crossed this monthly pivot and it went up as expected. In this way, see, here we have a chart of Maruti. See the impact. The price of the Maruti was consolidating around this monthly pivot point, and when it crossed from this monthly pivot point, it gave a very good upward move when it broke this resistance of monthly as well. And see, the distance between the monthly and the weekly pivot is very narrow. Weekly pivot from the earlier pivot and earlier weekly pivot, it was almost nearby. That means the price was very consolidating around this range, and when it broke this range, it gave a very good return of 6% in just after 24th Jan to, we can say, 1 Feb. In the same way, if we simply track the pivot, so we can find the reference for selection of this stock, and you can see the same result we got in LT. The price of LT stock on 9th January is around this pivot point, and when it passed above this, it again gave, as expected, a good move, 8.5% move, upward move. And here we can see again the LT is having a resistance of monthly pivot again nowadays. Another thing what we can notice that there should be a step of pivot points on daily basis. You can see it has a very good consolidation of three daily pivot are at the same price range plus with weekly. That means the price is very good consolidating here and is ready to take upward move to give a good return. And when on the upper side, again, if the daily pivot is again at the same level, two pivot points are again the same level, that means the stock has given its profit and may take a reverse direction. And the same thing happened. And at the same time, when it makes, when there is two pivot, daily pivot is at the same level, that's when it is making a good base and may give a good return again, upside return again in the future. So we can see how pivot points help us in selection of these stocks. You can see this also in Bharti Airtel. Bharti Airtel price is around a range for last several days. But yesterday when it crossed the monthly pivot, on 3rd of February it crossed the monthly pivot and it started giving the new rise. So in this way, if you are not, if you are simply following the pivots as a standard, we can find a good result in after selecting this stock on this basis. So thanks for watching this video. I hope my study, my observation may help you in selection of stocks on the pivot point basis. Thank you.